Hello there, welcome to Shaun Does FM. I am Shaun, and in today's video we are going to show you guys how to set up your save in Football Manager 2021. If you enjoyed today's video, then do make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Also subscribe to the channel and turn on that notification bell if you do enjoy Football Manager playthroughs on the channel. At the moment we are doing a Hexagon challenge and we are in Colombia at the moment. We're about to hit episode 40 at Atletico Nacional, where we are in the Copa Libertadores. But let's get into this video and show you guys how to set up your saves. Okay, so you are ready to get your save underway in Football Manager 2021. The first thing that you need to do is know what type of save you're doing, whether it's going to be a one club road to glory type save, you only need the one nation playable, or if you are going to do something like I'm doing with the Hexagon challenge on my channel, where you're going to be switching between different countries and you want quite a few options. If you're going to do that latter one, you're going to need to have quite a few countries as playable. So what we'll do first off is just go to the start of a new game. Now there are different game types. Fantasy draft is something that you can do with friends and build your teams like an American draft. There's online career where you can also play your friends, take control of different teams, and there's create a club where you can create your own club and throw them into the bottom tier of England or whatever country you would like to start. So these are the different types of saves. The one that we're going to be focusing on is career. That is the one where it's just you, it's just a normal game. It's the one that most people play in their YouTube saves. So that is the one that we are going to go and show you guys how to set up today. Now if you know what team you're going to be starting with at this point, select it. So let's say if I'm a Liverpool fan, let's say we were going to try and improve Liverpool from this season, leave Liverpool ticked, and if I was you guys, I would still click advanced setup, not quick start. It's just a lot better way to do it. You get a lot more detail, which we'll go into in a bit. If you are going to do the Hexagon challenge style thing or a Journeyman save, then at this point, instead of starting job club manager up here, you can go down and click unemployed. This is how you get into the game and you start as unemployed. Now, before we get into the next stage, I need to briefly mention something about if you guys do want to do a Hexagon challenge, because you guys are going to need to use custom databases. And how you find these is you go over to Google. I'm going to click Steam Workshop FM21. That's what we'll look for. First result, you go to the Steam community. So what I would personally do, and this is coming from a New Zealander, so bear this in mind, if you're going to do the Hexagon challenge, I would only actually load New Zealand for Oceania. We're the country that produces the most winners of the Oceania Champions League, and we're the country probably with the best players out of the Oceania region. We consistently do well in Oceania. So you can browse by tags, so you can look at league and data updates. So if you click on that, you will start to bring up a whole heap of leagues that you can add to your save, and countries. Like you look at the early ones up here: Japan, Egypt, Angola, Algeria. There's the Oceania Champions League right there. There's a lot of, you can do updated ones here as well for countries that are already in the game. But just for the demonstration of this, we're going to search New Zealand. You can see I've already done that. Click the search, and what will come up is a number of New Zealand databases. Now, for my save, I used Riddler's one, but it is up to you. What I would do if I was you guys is absolutely make sure that it has the Champions League in it, which Riddler's definitely does. So that is something that you can bank on with that. So we'll use Riddler's one because I used it in my series. And a good thing about this one is it's also been updated for the new database, which is good to know. Now when you get to this stage, you just hit subscribe to download. You might have to sign in, and you hit the subscribe button, and that means that the game is going to download the extra database. How you will find that out is you go to the edited data folder in your documents file where the game is. So we'll show you guys where that is. We'll close this for now. So you open your file explorer. Mine's on Bandicam because that's what I'm using to record this. You go to documents, wherever the Sports Interactive folder is. So you can Google, or sorry, not Google, you can search Sports Interactive. Find this, go into that. Football Manager 2021 obviously is the game, and edited data. Now in here you will see all the databases that you have, and you'll be able to see, if you do it by date, that's probably the easiest way, that you'll have so many databases. So you'll be able to check that this is the database that you're after, and this is where all the custom databases go that you download from that Steam workshop. So that is how you check that they are in there. The updated New Zealand one, this isn't the one I actually use, but that means it will be compatible with the most recent winter update, which is brilliant. That's what we're after. That's in there, so we're good now to go back into our game and load that up into our save for the Hexagon challenge type of save or Journeyman. So as we said earlier, if you're just going to do the one club and you know what it is, do it like this and then click Advanced Setup. If you're going to do a custom one, then you'll go down here, so you'll hit the database button, and somewhere down here, all these ones with asterisks are there because they don't work with the winter update, but this one that we've just downloaded does. So what you want to do is you want to go here, click it, tick it, and hit confirm if you're going to do that sort of Hexagon challenge thing, and you go Advanced Setup. Either way, I recommend doing the Advanced Setup. That is the absolute key, because that's how you guys are going to get more depth in your saves. You have more depth from around the world, and it is going to make your save a lot more fun. So what we will do is we'll do add and remove leagues. Now, this is where I do things probably a little bit differently to some people. I tick every single league. It doesn't mean they're all going to be playable, but it does mean that these will take place in the background. So you'll have a full footballing world around you. I would do this no matter what save you're doing, either the Hexagon or the One Club, One Nation Road to Glory. Just go through and tick every single one. It means that the players from around the world will generate more realistically, because they'll be coming through all the worldwide club systems. If you only tick the One Nation, it isn't going to happen as much. So that's why I would do it. You just get a lot more players, and it's a lot more realistic, and it's a really cool way to play the game. There's Oceania. If you are going to do the Hexagon and add a custom database, they'll pop up depending on the region, but in particular Oceania, because that's the one we downloaded, is right down at the bottom. So I would tick everything and then click confirm. Yeah, this is where things get interesting. Now you'll notice that there's a few warnings here. I wouldn't pay too much attention to this, and I'll tell you why later, but you'll notice the mode for each of these leagues that we're going to do. So I'll start off by going through what I'll do for a One Nation Road to Glory thing. So we'll say we're in England. If you click on the league, you can go down to the bottom league, which is what I do anyway, so get all the leagues, and leave the nation that you're going to play in as playable. If you know the club that you're going to use, that is what you want to do. And for all the rest, get them down to the bottom and go from playable to view only. This is going to really help you guys in terms of the game running quicker, but you'll still have the rest of the world's football scene happening. So we'll get through this ever steadily. We'll come back in a few seconds so I can show you guys just how that looks. So we've gone through, we've made sure that all of these are down at the lowest possible one that we can get to for each nation, so that we've got every single league that we can load in, and every nation that we're not going to be playing in. So in this case, for the Road to Glory One Club in One Nation thing, we've only got England as playable. You'll notice that the database has gone down considerably, and that the game speed is just shot up to 5 stars. You can do that if you want, and you'll be fine. What I would suggest now is going into the database with the player count, and you can actually go to Advanced, which might make things a bit interesting. But what I would do is I would go to continents. You can add all the continents. So you can go to, say, Africa, and you can tick up here. You can add more players to the game. If I was you guys, I'd just do current international players maybe. You can go to Asia and do this, and what it will do is it will again bulk your game out because you've cut down the amount of players. And it does help you guys get more players that obviously you can sign. If you do that, as we keep doing, we'll just do current international players. You can tick all these, and it will really bulk things out, but I think you probably only need current international players in this situation. And do that, you can click OK, which I believe is down here, thanks to my screen size. And your game speed's gone down 1.5 stars, but it will still be good, because one thing about this year's FM is very quick in between games compared to last year's game. If I tried to do a Hexagon on last year's game, I simply couldn't on this computer that I've got. It would have been way too slow. I struggled at one club, let alone trying to do a bunch of different nations. So if you're going to do a Hexagon, this year's the year, in my opinion. But that would be how I would do it. And the other thing that I would do is go through and find the countries that produce really good regions, and we're going to really shoot you up. You want to make those playable as well, even in the one club, one nation type save. So, for example, Brazil, absolute must. I would put them on playable in every single save. Argentina, that's another good one to do. Belgium, yeah, that's probably a decent option. And it will slow it down, but the more of these that you can add in, the better, and it will improve your database, because that league, you'll be playable. There'll be just that little bit more detail and a bit more regioning. So that is how I would do it for the one club save. Now, for the Hexagon, your life's a little bit different. What you want to do is find the nations where you're at the most chance, A, of getting your first job, because that's very difficult usually, and B, nations that you can actually win a Champions League in. There are a lot of ways to figure this out. So first off, if this was me, I'm in New Zealand, so we'll go down and find the New Zealand League. I would add that as playable. We'll just go back. The other thing I'd do is I'd actually remove this continent thing, which it has because we've changed it around a bit. I personally would just stick to a large or even a small database for the Hexagon. I think I did a small on mine. You're still going to get a good amount of players, especially once you load all the leagues. You don't really need those extra players to worry about in the Hexagon, because you'll have enough loaded up leagues that you're going to be fine. You're going to have all the important nations there. You'll be okay. You don't have to worry about running out of players. You don't have to worry about not having the players to fill your squad. There's going to be more than enough, especially as the years go on and the regions keep going. So I'd actually go with a small database. Try and keep it around the 3-star mark is what I would say, maybe 2.5. It's always a good little safe thing to do. I know I said it doesn't matter, and it probably doesn't really, but it is quite useful. So I've added New Zealand because I'm from New Zealand. That's really useful to get my first job. You guys should be adding New Zealand too if you're doing a Hexagon as opposed to a Pentagon, because it's the only Oceanic League that we've loaded. They're the country that gets the most Oceanic Champions Leagues. It's a simple thing to do. So add your home country, and then after that we'll go through and tick off the leagues which I think are good for trying to win Champions Leagues in. England, absolutely. If you're worried about the game speed and database, if you're sort of like, I want to go to England, but only the championship and above, then you can do that, and that's going to, again, help your game speed. Depends really where you're going to start off. If you're an Englishman, so if you're from England, then I would start in the Vanarama, because those jobs are going to be freely available, and you can work your way up the ladder there before going overseas. Argentina is a very good one for Copa Libertadores. If you want, you can go take that down to Premier Division only. So this is the sort of, if you're going to do that Hexagon type save, this is where you can really muck around with exactly what leagues you want loaded. Australia, I would actually add the A-League, decent enough chance in Asia. Austria, Belarus, probably not. Belgium, you probably want loaded anyway because they do some good regions. Brazil, absolutely, an absolute powerhouse in the Copa Libertadores. Bulgaria, I would say you can leave. Canada, I've actually got loaded in mine. Now, this is because it's a quite good league to get your reputation up. You can leave and take that one if you want. It's not one that you absolutely need, but if you just maybe want to go overseas at some point and do something different, you're probably not going to win a Champions League there, but it could definitely help your manager's reputation. So Canada's one that I would say either. Chile, I'll probably make playable. Chile clubs do all right in the Libertadores. China, absolutely. Powerhouse of Asia, you want them. Colombia, I'm in Colombia at the moment. There's some good teams there. I'd add them. Croatia, you can probably leave. Czech Republic. Then we're going out to Denmark, Finland. There's a few nations here that you can just leave on view only, and that's what's going to help you out. France, obviously, you want to include them. Germany, Greece, you can probably leave. The Netherlands is one that you actually would probably want to do playable anyway, just because they produce some really good players. Hong Kong, leave alone. Hungary, Iceland, unless you really like Iceland, which a few people do, leave that on view only. India, I'd do view only. Indonesia, not a powerhouse of Asia, I'd leave that alone. Ireland, as much as I'd like doing a save in Ireland, I didn't mind my Waterford beta, you can probably leave that alone. Same with Israel. Italy is an absolute must. Serie A. Malaysia, don't need it. Mexico, you do. Mexico's really good for the CONMEBOL, the North American Champions League. Northern Ireland, no. There's our custom New Zealand one for Oceania. Norway, don't think you need it. Peru, you probably do for Copa Libertadores. Poland, yeah, probably not. Portugal, yes, I'd add Portugal, very good region country. Romania, don't think so. Russia, Russia, you can, yeah, one of those ones that you can give or take. I'll probably leave it as view only. Scotland, another one that it depends if you want to play there. If there's a few nations that you want to do, then absolutely include them. But Scotland and a hexagon, it's probably not something that you're going to want to do, just because the chances of a Scottish team winning the Champions League are quite low. So maybe leave that one view only. I think I've got low in my safe, but you probably don't need to, unless it's your home country and you're going to get your first job from there, which is usually what happens. Serbia, I'd leave view only. Singapore, same. Slovakia, Slovenia, leave those view only. South Africa, yes, playable. Absolutely, it's the only African country in the game. That is where you're going to try and get your AFCON Champions League from. Korea, I would make playable. South Korea, that gives you a decent chance at the Asian Champions League. Spain, of course, big nation. Sweden, Switzerland, Turkey, possibly don't need unless you really want to go to one of those countries. I did a Turkish save last year and loved it. You get paid for each win and it really helps the bank balance go up. So if that's something that maybe you're thinking about, Turkey is a good one to do. In terms of hexagon, you probably don't need to. The MLS, I would, because there's not many North American countries. And saying that, both that and the A-League can be a bit tricky to figure out the rules, at least in this year's save. I know that next season, the A-League in Australia is going to a model where the clubs are owned by themselves instead of Football Australia owning them, and that should mean that the transfer system is a bit more similar to England, so keep that in mind. But MLS, I would put in. The rules very different, but I'd still put it in. Ukraine, you can probably leave alone. Uruguay, I would put in for the South American Copa Libertadores, and then you've got Wales, which I'll put as view only. I'll probably put a list of that down in the comments just so you guys know. Now, if that's getting your game speed a bit difficult, what you can do is you can move it so that some of these nations where you only want to go once you're an established manager, so you're going to go in the top division, as I said, change them in here, and it should help your game speed significantly. You can go to the Spanish First Division, and the more of this that you guys do, the more your game will speed up. My computer is running something pretty similar to what I've just done, and it handles it fine. It's really quick, and I'm on a 5-year-old laptop, so I think you'll be fine just having every league loaded from those nations that I went through before as playable and the rest as view only. And then you've got these advanced options. Using fake players and staff, I would leave ticked off. Do not use real fixtures, means you won't get the real fixtures. May as well leave that in. Do not add key staff. Now, if you have this unticked, it means that the key staff in the game at different clubs will be automatically assigned. I would leave that. I would actually tick that so that does not happen. Now, this is so you can do it yourself, and you'll be able to go around the staff, search and find good staff members to put in there who will be better than what you've got anyway. You won't have to pay compensation to get rid of the rubbish staff. I think you're better off having that ticked so you do not add key staff. Adding players to playable teams, I wouldn't do. There might be a few clubs that you go to where the teams aren't fully filled out, but you'll still be able to pick up players on free transfers. That's something that happened to me early on in my New Zealand save. In the Hexagon at Caversham, not all the first team were there, but it just allowed me to bring in a lot of players, and it was fine. So I wouldn't bother ticking add players to playable teams. Disable the first transfer window, leave that, do not tick it, because otherwise you can't make transfers when you get into your first job or once you get to your club. Disable the player attribute masking. Now this, it depends on how you want to play the game. If you tick this, you'll be able to click on any player in the world and you'll be able to see all their attributes and you know exactly how good they are. If you leave this unticked, your scouts are going to have to find them before you know how good they are. I, for the Hexagon, leave this unticked because I find it to be more realistic. You don't have a clue about players unless your scouts find them. It depends on how you want to play the game. I personally find that ticking this makes it a little bit too easy to make sure you're signing good players. You don't really have any transfer failures. So I would leave that unticked, but it's up to you. Prevent control of teams with managers in place. I usually leave it. You should be okay leaving this even if you're going to start the game unemployed. And preventing use of the in-game editor depends. I'm using Zealand's Region Face Pack, and there's a search function with the in-game editor that allows you to have every player in the world show up in your player search. I don't use it for scouting, but I do use it when doing the Region real faces, so it depends. It's up to you. If you don't have the in-game editor, it's not an issue. If you do, you might want to tick it, but it's not the end of the world. So even though this is a half-star game speed, it will be fine on a computer like mine, so do not worry about that. And what I would do is maybe just go down to a small database, select your start time. Usually you want to do the nation that you're going to start in and do it in early pre-season. So we'll say that we're starting in England, start in the early English season, and then you will start the game. Now, at this next step, it is going to take a while. And I mean, like, you can go away, grab a beer, have a cup of tea, make it, let it sit for about 10 minutes. This takes a long time for the game to load everything. Do not panic that it is going to take quite a while, because it does it for every single save. Just let it be and you'll be fine. You can go away, go mow the lawns or something. When it sorts itself out, it will be okay. It's not going to be as slow throughout the entire game as it is for this one thing when it's setting up your entire game database. This message where it says the start date is more than 5 months after England's start date, don't worry about this unless you're doing the one nation thing and you know that you're going to be managing a club in a nation such as Brazil. Just make sure that back here you're going at the Brazilian early pre-season instead of the English early pre-season. If you're doing a Hexagon type of thing, English early pre-season is always a good way to start. Click start game, ignore that message unless you are starting in a different country, and then click start game and go make a cup of tea. I'll be back with you guys when this is sorted. Okay, so after about a quarter of an hour, you'll come to a screen where you can organize your manager. So what you do here is, this is the profile that I started the Hexagon with, but you can either edit the profile or use it or create a new one. When you fill out your personal details, you'll do it like this. Favorite teams, if you've got any socials, are you experienced or not, you can tick, and then you can go to your appearance, and on the screen you can go generate 3D model from your photo. So what they'll do is they'll take a photo of you from your webcam in this instance, which is pretty cool, and it does a pretty good job. Or you can randomize the face, change the hair color, suit and tie, jacket, shirt color, tie color, all that stuff you can change so you will look exactly how you want. You can do a shirt and tie instead of a suit and tie. I mean, there's a lot of options for how your guy will look, and color choice. So after you organize this stuff, and then you are choosing the team you want to start with. So if we're going to do the one nation, one club example like we had, where we're going to do Liverpool, it's already ticked, and we can just go towards our managerial style. If we're going to do the Hexagon type save, then we want to click Start Unemployed and go to the managerial style. So we'll do that for the case of this. And in terms of coaching badges, now if you're going to do the one club sort of thing and you want it to be a bit more realistic, you can go and do what is expected for the manager in the Premier Division. So you can tick on these, and usually there'll be a recommendation. If you have already selected your club, it will tell you what is recommended for that club. You can click on that and it will sort you guys out with the attributes either way. If you're doing the Hexagon, one of the criteria for the Hexagon that I found on the forums, the Sports Interactive forums before I started, was that you have no coaching badges and the lowest playing experience. So you start off as a Sunday League footballer and you have no coaching badge. Then you can distribute these attributes however you want. What I was made aware of is that you probably want to make adaptability as high as possible, because that helps you get jobs from overseas a lot easier than you would without the adaptability. So that's something to keep in mind, but the rest of them you can just move around however you want. I kept all these on 1, put tactical to 2, everything on 1, and then because of that recommendation to help get jobs overseas, put the adaptability up to 6. So once you've sorted that out, you can confirm. The other thing you can do is decide what sort of management style focus you want. So you can be a disciplinarian, a motivator, be more focused on youth development, a knowledgeable manager, tactician, or a taskmaster. So that's another choice. Another thing that you guys could possibly do, and you can also change this so that the attributes change in terms of what side you can put them on. But we'll go back to what we had before and confirm that. You can add another manager here if you want. I personally wouldn't, but if you feel like you need to do that, then of course you can add another manager. But I would just go with the start playing, and after a little bit of loading, it will come up with this. You can name it whatever you want. For this case, we'll save it as YouTube vid. can also change when the auto saves will happen, so that's another thing to keep in mind. And you'll come, in the Hexagon case, to this job centre. If you're at your club, you'll get the club introduction that you get sometimes. And today you are in the game. So that is how you set up a save. There'll be a social media guy telling you what to do, and you can go to the job centre in this Hexagon thing, and you can edit this down. What I would do is untick everything and only go for the manager jobs, and also cut out the reserve teams and international teams. And then that is all the jobs that are available to you. So you've got some decent options early on in this save anyway. You'll notice in New Zealand there's a few teams who are after coaches. One in particular that we may have taken up, Caversham, in our save that is on the channel, which if you have not checked out, then please go and do so. But what that does is puts you in a nice place to start looking around, seeing what jobs you might want to take. It is going to be quite difficult to get those top jobs early on in a Hexagon. What you would like to do is sometimes you will go forward and you'll start getting offered job interviews. And sure enough, after a couple of simulations forward, you can see in my case, because I'm from New Zealand, I've had a bunch of job offer interviews. So that's one way that you guys can get started. If you're going to do the Hexagon, I imagine it's the same if you're in a place like England. You'll get the Panorama North-South teams coming after you. And if you're in another country, obviously the lower leagues of wherever you are from. But that is how you set up your save. There's the lovely Caversham interview, which is how we started our Hexagon challenge, which is on the channel. We are now 40 episodes into it. If you have not checked that out and you have enjoyed today's video, then please go and watch that series if you enjoy FM playthroughs. But hopefully you guys have found this run through of how to set up your game useful, and it will get you guys enjoying your Football Manager experience should you choose to start it. But if you did enjoy that video, make sure to leave a thumbs up down below, and as I said, subscribe to the channel and turn that notification bell on if you want to keep up to date with any content on the channel coming up, most likely more episodes of the Hexagon challenge. But until the next time I see you, enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.